What's up, y'all? So today I want to talk about how I got into the raw food vegan movement. Who was the first person who ever inspired me? I want to talk about that today. And also I want to talk about a few of the reasons why this diet appealed to me so much. So the person that inspired me the most starting out was an old buddy of mine that I used to be in Boy Scouts with at least 10 years ago. His name is Michael and he goes by the name of Professor Spira. So Professor Spira, he practices the Harold Arnhart mucusless diet healing system, which if you've never checked it out, it's worth a good read. But Michael, when I saw him, Professor Spira, when I started reading about him, I saw, he was eating all fruits and veggies. And I started thinking to myself, this isn't possible.
How is that even possible?
I thought what everyone else thought, oh, this isn't healthy, you need meat. You can't just live on fruits and veggies. So like I said, I never take any one thing I hear for granted. It's always, I gotta experiment for myself. I gotta do my own research. I gotta be my own test dummy. Someone may say, oh, I cured this, I healed this on raw foods. And I'll be like, oh, that's great. Until I try it myself, I want to believe them, but you can't really believe anything anybody says. So try it for yourself, see what it can help for you, and let's do it. So I figured all I can do is to do my own research to really see, what this whole lifestyle is about. So I started researching the mucusless diet, which kind of led me into the whole raw foods, because the more and more I got into the mucusless diet and the more and more I tried it, I found out that it really wasn't for me. Even though, Professor Spira did cure a lot of his ailments, which is the main thing that attracted me to this. I saw that he had cured, multiple ailments. I'll put a link, somewhere down here to where you can find out all about his story and why I got so inspired. So like I said, after I ran into Professor Spira and saw, what he was practicing, I started getting into the raw foods. I probably did about 2 to 3 months worth of research before I actually committed and was like, I'm gonna try this. What do I have to lose? So about 2 to 3 months, I'd done a lot of research, found out, there's a lot of people into the raw foods eating only fruits and veggies. And that's when, it was 2 years ago this August, that I jumped into it. The first thing I did was bought a juicer. The first juicer I ever bought was a Breville centrifugal force ejection, which I loved. Every morning, which I was eating Cocoa Krispies and 1% milk, I cut that out and started replacing it with the mean green juice, putting celery, kale, carrots, apples, oranges. It was just one big combo every morning of some green juice, which is really what kick-started me. I was still eating meat for dinner or lunch. I was usually eating one meal a day at that time when I got into it. And it wasn't until about 2 months after I bought that juicer that I really committed myself and said, I'm going all vegan, cutting out all dairy, all meat, fish, chicken, steak, all that. And that's where I never looked back. The best thing I ever did. And like I said, I did a lot of research, and the one thing that inspired me about Professor Spira was how he cured all his ailments. And like I said, check out his website for his story. It's quite an amazing story. And personally, every night I was taking medicine. The first one was Singulair, which was for my asthma, which I had been taking for 12 to 15 years. Had asthma my whole life since I was a kid. Used to get hospitalized, taken in an ambulance for asthma attacks. The other medicine I used to take every night would be Zyrtec for my allergies. I had taken Zyrtec at least 5 to 10 years, as far as back as I can remember, pretty much. And it just seemed, it got to a routine to where if I didn't have Zyrtec one night, I just couldn't breathe the next morning because I was so stuffed up and everything, so much mucus and pus, it just wasn't comfortable. And then the third medicine I used to take every night was a multivitamin, like probably most Americans do, some kind of vitamin. And, after going vegan, I totally cut out all of these medicines. My Singulair, which I had been taking, a prescription medicine, paying $40 a month, just cut out because I cut out meat and dairy. I mean, how easy is that? I'm saving myself $40 every month. Plus, I haven't had any breathing problems, asthma attacks, anything since stopping dairy and meat totally. Another one, which a lot of people, is the Zyrtec. Allergies, living where we live in Ohio, worst place I think to live with allergies. Everybody, you ask them, either on Allegra, Zyrtec, some kind of damn allergy medicine. And that was one, not only it was costing me money, not as much as the Singulair, but it was just, I was dependent on it, and I didn't like being dependent on it where if I missed one night, I couldn't function the next day because I was so stuffed up. So that was, another great one. My mom always told me, take a tablespoon of honey, of raw honey, local honey, or teaspoon of local raw honey, and after a year of doing that, it'll take your allergies away. Well, fuck that. How about just cut out meat and dairy and be healthier, live better, and get rid of your allergies? That's the way I kind of viewed it. And then the last one, the multivitamin, it really wasn't no big deal, but it's just having that big bottle of pills and, popping one every night. It was just kind of a ritual that I did. And when people think I got into the vegan movement, a lot of people just think, oh, you're all about the animal rights and you don't want to hurt and cut down any trees or kill all these animals or see them in slaughterhouses. That had 0% to do with why I got into veganism. The main reason I got into veganism was first, because I didn't think it was possible to live on just fruits and veggies, which I proved is possible. The second one is I didn't believe that cutting out meat and dairy could, make asthma, cure asthma, whatever you want to say, couldn't make asthma disappear, which I've also proved wrong. And as I practice the vegan diet more, the animal rights and, the slaughterhouses and all this, it kind of starts to hit home a little more. You kind of start to get a little more compassionate when you start living this way. But to tell you the truth, when I started out, that was the last thing on my mind. Even fitness was before the animal rights. I said, if I could find a diet, that can make my fitness levels better, but it had nothing to do with the animal rights. Whereas now, I'd say the animal rights is a good, 25% reason why I don't go back to eating any meat and dairy. Because after you've seen what goes on, it's just, hard to go back. So I hope you liked this first episode, talking about my first inspiration of why I started getting into veganism, what really jump-started my research. If it wasn't for Professor Spira, if I wouldn't have ran across him, 10 years, it hadn't been, 10 years since I'd ever seen him, back in Boy Scouts, and I just somehow ran across him on Facebook and saw he was doing this crazy diet thing, and I said, man, this guy's gone weird. He's doing, I don't even know what he's doing. He's just gone crazy on us. And after I got into it, look what I turned into, one of them crazy vegans. So, this is my story of the drugs I've been on, how I got off those drugs by cutting out dairy and meat. I hope this inspires, one person with asthma, because I lived my whole life, since I can remember, 3, 4, 5 years old with asthma. And it wasn't until I was 2 years ago, 24, that I realized that if I cut out meat and dairy, that my asthma would go away. And the one thing that I gotta add about my asthma, you know, being cured, what I say cured, is that my family would still tell me, specifically my mom, would be, oh, well, you know, people just grow out of asthma. It's not any coincidence that, you know, right when I cut out dairy and meat, that my asthma just, oh, magically disappears because I happen to grow out of it. Because now I'm 24, I just grew out of it. It had nothing to do with because I cut out meat and dairy. But, you know, people are gonna think what they think, you know, until they try it for themselves, they're not gonna know. So like I said, hope you liked this video. Let me know if you've cured any ailments by cutting out meat and dairy. You know, have you cured your chronic fatigue, depression? You know, I had all those I cured. I just wasn't on, you know, any medication for those ailments. And, you know, I didn't feel I needed to discuss those in this episode. I more wanted to discuss all the medications I used to take, which I was able to cut out when I cut out meat and dairy in my diet.